The failure of the healthcare system is that it places the patient in the center, but it also is completely dependent on the free labor that's provided by the patient to make the system work. So if you have to go to the pharmacy and they mess up your prescription, the pharmacy doesn't call your doctor, you call the doctor and you sort it out. If the insurance doesn't quite figure out like how to deal with your specialist's bill, you're the person who goes back and forth between the insurance and the specialist. And then you have to follow up with the insurance like 3 months later when they get it wrong. These silos in the industry are incentivized not to work together and serve patients better because their business model is that patients are incentivized to do the work. I think about the music landscape and individual artists in a very similar way. We see these silos of organizations and platforms and new services that are all like, oh, well, the musician's incentivized to do that. The musician's incentivized to tell us the names of the tracks and who played on what and who did all the engineering for this thing. The musician's incentivized to, you know, if their music's being used on YouTube and they don't want it to be used that way, the musician's incentivized to file the DMCA takedown notices again and again and again. And the musician's going to be incentivized to register their work at the Copyright Office, so that way they can get compensation when somebody's exploiting it in a way that they don't want them to. And the musician's going to be incentivized to submit their own records for the Grammys. Or a musician's going to be incentivized to submit for the Pulitzers, which, you know, that's something you have to submit for. Who knew? Or like tell ASCAP what you played on so you can get paid, but tell them the splits. Like tell them how you're splitting up the money that's coming to you, which requires like support and negotiation and an ability, frameworks to think about, like where you can have hard conversations with your band about how you want to split up the money. Musicians don't have support in that way, and they're the free labor that basically kind of makes the industry work. And I think what's really problematic about that is that it incentivized the industry to become more and more complex, because the more complex it is, the fewer people are going to show up and say, hey, you're supposed to pay me for that. It also is an equity issue for me, because like, who can afford to participate in a system that's that complex and requires so much free labor and specialized knowledge, right? So it's people who have access to capital, and it's people who have access to connections and support. And there's something really wrong about a system that's like that isn't thinking about the needs of the musicians.